Welcome back to my review of Killers of the Flower Moon, one of my most anticipated films of the year. After I saw the first couple trailers, I was super hyped about the film. I love the energy, I love the stories and the topic that this movie was going to be covering. It was going to be my first Martin Scorsese film I see in theaters, and it's telling such an essential story that a lot of people doesn't know. But how could the most important film of the year be a disappointment? Well, let's attack it. In the 1920s, members of the Osage Native American tribe of Osage County, Oklahoma, are murdered after oil is found on their land, and the FBI decides to investigate. Let's start off with the good. This movie is masterfully made, with the score being palpable and enhancing every single scene. 90% of the editing is done so well. It helps the movie move along. Despite this being a very heavy film with some heavy topics and some very gnarly imagery, there's some levity in the dialogue to really lighten up the mood with some dark humor.
You told him to do it in the front of the head, and why did you do it in the back of the head? It's so simple. The front is the front, the back is the back.
He has to make it look like he done it himself.
It just looks like murder. It's not supposed to be that way.
There's two specific actors that I think are gonna get Oscar nomination, Oscar buzz coming out of this film. The first one is Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays Ernest, a bumbling fool, someone that's aloof and so charming that you almost forget how much of a piece of crap he is.
Yeah, they had us the first half, I'm not gonna lie.
And Ernest is this nephew to Robert De Niro's character, King, the villain of the movie. The villain that is the snake in sheep's clothing, not the wolf, the snake, because he's so obviously the bad guy, but he's so charming and he seems like he has the right frame of mind to help the Osage because he's been there for so long, speaking their language, knowing their customs. You wouldn't think, oh my God, this person is screwing us over. And he does such a phenomenal job, plays it to the T, where you're like, why is he like this? Why is he so terrible? And he makes you feel like you understand his train of thought. He's definitely tied, or maybe the best villain of the year, tied with the High Evolutionary from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Hypotonic, yes, we know. We fixed that. But how did you know? I made you!
I think this is the most essential story that was put together in 2023 in film. This is a story that not a lot of people know about. The massacre, the deception, the colonization of the Osage, Oklahoma, and how these people who are so nice, so giving, so forgiving were just taken completely advantage of. We need to know a lot of these stories because it's not told in schools, and I'm glad that it was put on film so everyone knows what's actually going on. And there's some genuinely unforgettable moments in the film that will frustrate you, make you sick, and really tear at your heart, where you might tear up just a bit. And even though you may tear up and you're sad about the atrocities, the movie is kind of made in a cold way where I felt distant from the characters as a viewer. I never got to attach to anyone specifically because the way the film was put together. It kind of felt like a true crime documentary, but instead of the parts where the people get to tell their stories and then they have those parts that reenacting, this felt like just the reenacting parts, but just cinematic, well made, and some top tier actors in it. And I was very mixed on that because even though I thought it was an interesting way to tell the story, there was a lot of context that was missing, a lot of stuff in the story there. I was like, why are they not diving deeper in this? Why are we not hearing more from the victims themselves? And the movie's 3.5 hours long. A lot of people talk about that, like, oh my God, the movie's so long. But I actually felt it, and it's not because the movie's so long, it's because they decided to have a lack of Osage perspective, and that really pissed me off when I got to the end of the film, because the movie promoted in the marketing and inside of interviews, Martin Scorsese talking about he rewrote the script so it felt like it was more from the perspective of the Osage. But when you watch the movie, that is not what you get. The movie spends a lot of time on Ernest and King, and they're plotting to destroy these people. That just shows them as victims and not really showing the culture and why the things are the way they are. To the point, by the time it got to the third act and we started getting into the court proceedings and the FBI gets involved, I kind of got bored because it was such repetition. They kill people, they go back and scheme, they kill people, they go back and scheme. It was kind of this back and forth for almost 2.5 hours, and it was just like, oh my god, can I get a different perspective? Why am I following the villains the whole time? And the hype that I had for this movie came specifically from these trailers, and I know if you don't watch trailers, or if you don't look into interviews, you might not care about it, but it's part of the marketing, and the way the trailers were cut made this movie feel like it was gonna be a fast pace, not fun, but like thrilling, and like it's gonna go for those 3 hours, but it's a slow simmer. The movie's not even a slow burn, it's just slow. It stays at this consistent pace and never goes up higher, never goes lower. It's just a consistent pace for 3.5 hours, and it really hurts the viewing of the film. Specifically when you thought you were gonna get something from the Osage, maybe something of them fighting back a little bit or something, especially there's particular lines that were in the trailer that made it seem like characters were going to fight against what was happening to them, but that doesn't happen. What? This was really, really detrimental, specifically to Lily Gladstone, who is phenomenal in the movie. She's so good. Put her in everything. Officially saying that right now. She's such a great actress, and I really liked her, and she has a lot of Oscar buzz coming out of this, and I can see her possibly get a nomination. But the only reason I might see her not getting a nomination is because they gave her a little to do. She didn't have much to do. She had amazing chemistry with Leonardo DiCaprio, but they didn't really focus on that. She had very nice, cool humor with her family, but they didn't really focus on that. And she had a lot of spunk and tenacity, but they didn't really focus on that. They really didn't focus on her character, and I really wish we got more from her perspective. What? And the biggest egregious in this is that instead of shedding light on their culture, why the way things are set up in their town with certain things, and where they would show some of the oppression and why these Native Americans can't do certain things, and I wanted to know more about that, they would switch focus back to Ernest and King, and I just couldn't understand why they kept doing that. The movie's 3.5 hours long. They had time to do it, and it just really was a detriment in terms of the viewing for me. And a lot has been made about the 3-hour runtime, I gotta say. A lot of people talk about it, a lot of people have been worried about it, and the movie is interesting throughout. I don't hate this movie, I just expected more from it. I was super hyped. I thought this was going to be one of my favorite films of the year, maybe top 3, top 2, maybe even might replace my number 1 because the subject matter, the talent involved. But because of the repetitive nature of the film, it dragged a bit, and it's not because of the length of the movie, it's the way the movie was paced. 2 of my favorite films from this year are 3 hours plus. Beau Was Afraid, Oppenheimer, 2 of the best films that I've seen this year, and I really love in my top 5. But the way the story was told in those films kept it interesting for me. It was something different going on and different perspectives and things like that, but they were so focused on trying to give character and humanity to these 2 evil people that I was at a point was just like, okay, I'm over it. I really wished I loved this movie as much as I appreciate it. I appreciate the story. Appreciate how great it looks. I appreciate the acting. I appreciate everything that goes on. I actually enjoyed myself watching the film, but by the end, especially with the end, I did not like the ending at all. I just felt like I missed out on so much, that the movie could have been a lot more if maybe it was someone that was Osage writing the film. Maybe you couldn't get this movie made with an Osage director, but maybe an Osage writer, so they could have different perspectives. They had the opportunity to do that, but unfortunately they didn't. If you are interested in true crime dramas, if you're interested in history, if you're interested in learning about things that are different with some phenomenal performances, music, cinematography, all that stuff with a masterful director, definitely go check this out. I think this is a must watch to watch in theaters just at least once, but in terms of ongoing viewings of watching this over and over again, I don't think I can sit through this movie again, not for at least for a long time. So with that said, I'm gonna give Killers of the Flower Moon a C+. So Zack Attack Nation, did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate Killers of the Flower Moon? A lot of people saying this movie's a masterpiece. Are you on that end? A lot of people are a smaller amount of people are kind of towards where I am, and some people hate it. Where do you lie? Let me know. I want to talk to you guys. Drop all your comments down below if you saw the movie already. If you have not checked it out, based on my review, are you going to go see it in theaters? I do implore people to still see it despite the things that was lacking from the film, because it's still a really good film in there. But I understand if you want to wait for streaming on Apple TV+. If you like my review, hit that like button, let YouTube know that what you're seeing, you're liking. And you know how you join the Zack Attack Nation? You attack that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you notify my reviews, reactions, live discussions, and join this growing community. You can watch more content right now.